3.5 million people. So if you think about it, the whole state of Connecticut, the whole population visits Orlando 2 times a year.
Oh, that's insane.
That's how much traffic they get, and the construction and the real estate market. It's just like growing and growing and growing. So I was thinking, like, wow, even though what's going on in the market, it was it's like it's still insane. And I was with Century 21s from Minnesota, Florida, California, Colorado, Texas. And the funny thing is, like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island are the only states with inventory issues.
No
They're
kidding.
they're all like Florida. They're all like, oh my God, like our average days in the market are 100. They're 90. I need buyers. Who's got buyers? I'm like, oh, send your listings to Connecticut, please. We'll sell them this weekend.
Really? Well, prices are still dropping there, but I have somebody looking there now and the prices are still going down. But so you're saying construction is still up even though
They're they're still building because you know what? Their tourism is still growing and their population is still growing.
oh, that's interesting. Because you would think it would be down based on the fact that the inventory just keeps climbing in Florida and prices are dropping.
So the one thing to remember too, and I know we're just about at 10 to get started, is the prices are going to drop 5, but a lot of those builders are national builders. They've already these homes are already on their P&L. Their expenses are out there, so they need to keep moving them. They might take a haircut on their profit margin, or that's why a lot of them are saying we'll finance it for you at like 3%, because they just need to move that product off their P&L because they've already had all the expenses from lumber and everything on it. So it's almost like a different.
It's a different animal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a
Yep.
car dealership at the end of the year, right? They want to get rid of that inventory. They've already paid for it.
Yeah.
So it's a different animal.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
a
think it's home prices are probably still going to drop. And then they're going to rise in the Northeast, and they're still going to drop a little bit, and it'll cycle out. But I know we've talked about this, but when you look at the real estate market in 2018 and 2019, it's the same inventory as it is today. That in between from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 just didn't happen,
yeah.
and the market would look the same. So
Hmm. Interesting.
yeah. So, all right, folks, we'll get started because I know it's 10:02 and people are still joining. Uh, you know, Listening to the end of Ryan's call last week, and something kind of registered to me, right, where he kind of talked about, your leads and your prospects. They're really not. I don't want to say they're not anything because they're something, but they're not really as important until you have an appointment with them. And that really registered to me because as you think about this, right, is we actually everybody in your phone could be a potential lead. Everybody in your database could be a lead. And really thinking about and Ryan talked about a follow-up plan and a follow-up program. And what you really want to do is, do you want to spend your 40 hours over the next 2 weeks with one buyer who's really not that motivated? Or you keep going out to show houses to somebody and they're they they want that house that is not in their price range. And so when you're thinking about that, I was thinking about all these things to do is these leads, they're not as important, and we overprotect them sometimes, but they're not as important until we're actually in front of them. So ideal world for every realtor, wouldn't this be ideal? Is if as soon as you knew somebody was on a website looking at a house or Googling what mortgage rates are or homes for sale in Old Naples, and as soon as you knew that, your phone was ringing them and they were picking up the phone and you were talking to them at the exact time, that would be perfect. As they're thinking of real estate, talking about real estate, Googling real estate, or looking information up, you were actually on the phone with them. That would be the perfect scenario. The thing is, we'll never have that. But that's why it's so important to keep talking to your leads, to your people, to your sphere of influence. Because your sphere of influence can be a lead, but somebody you met at an open house, somebody maybe you showed properties to a while, and then calling them and following up, and then really asking the question of, hey, Jody, Are you and Tom still looking to buy a house? Hey, Jody, are you and Tom still thinking of selling? And then if Jody says, not till the end of the year, perfect. I'm going to follow up with you, Jody, um, the first of every month until then. Does that sound good? And then when we get closer to the end of the year, we'll talk weekly. And then if Jody said, we still are in the market. Well, you know what, Jody? I'm going to call you on Friday at 9 o'clock. Does that sound good? Does that work for you? And then I'm going to call at 9 o'clock. So I promise her something in doing that. Now I'm quantifying that lead. I'm quantifying the time. Is she A, B, C, D, or hot, medium, cold? If she's hot, I want to be on her and I want to follow up with her just like you were prospecting or talking to somebody. I want to follow up with her daily, weekly. What are we doing? Having that conversation. Have you been pre-approved? Where are you at? Oh, you definitely want to be in before Christmas. Okay. So that means we've got to get into something. Maybe we got to buy something by October 15th, whatever that is. Because if you're not, I could be that whole thing was I just spun my wheels with somebody who's really not that motivated to buy or sell. And I'll tell you what, I know I have, we've all had those listings where I'll put it on the market. If I get my number, great. If I don't, I don't. And we're all like, hey, there's the old adage, right? You can't get a price reduction if you don't have the listing. But then you get people who really don't want to reduce the price. They're putting it on the market to see what they get. And I can say the biggest one we ever had was 50 Cent's house in Connecticut. Come to find out, he went on a national talk show and said, oh, yeah, it's on the market, but it's a tax incentive. And he was trying to sell it for 12 million, 15 million, then finally 9,999,050 cents, right? And then all of a sudden, the house was worth 3 million. And we spent thousands of dollars marketing it. We did all these things. Actually, the lead came from Trump Real Estate in New York, and a Trump agent came up here. And come to find out, a year and a half later, he wasn't motivated. And I spent a lot of time with that. So when you have these leads, what can you do? You're never going to make a non-motivated person motivated. They're going to motivate themselves when it's time to buy or sell. But you need to follow up with them. And you need to have that. Now, if you're somebody who's great who logs into your database, whether that's Moxie, anything else that you're using, and you log in every day and you see those names, great. If you're somebody who's old school and needs to write it down in a book every day, like me, and I look at what I need to do, great. Folks, if you're putting them on 3x5 cards still, that works for you, fine. Keep them with you, but you need to follow up. And you need to find their motivation every day. And it's something I would say you do in the morning when you have energy, not at the end. Oh, I forgot to call Jody today. No, that's done first thing. It's done before lunch. I followed up with Jody. And if Jody says we're really looking for the end of the year, then you know what? I say, Jody, I'll call you August 15th. Sound good? Great. And then you put down August 15th and you call it on August 15th. And then you're still having her on a drip campaign or something. So she's still getting real estate information from you. But you need to make sure that you are prospecting your leads. Because if we're not, we don't know. We don't know if, they're just nosy neighbors or some people like to go look at houses. Some people want to sell, but they really don't need to sell. So you want to make sure that I think sometimes we probably lose business that we don't know about because we're following up with people that aren't really motivated. And there was somebody who was a little warmer, a little hotter, who did something, but we weren't following up. So you want to keep an idea. I know some people have a whiteboard next to their desk, and it's got their people that are hot, right? So they walk into the office and they look at it. Jody, Sandy, Ken, Ron, Carl, boom. And then I see, oh, Tony's my person under contract, and I follow up with them every day. Don't let the MLS be your follow-up, the little MLS searches. That's great. But by the way, the great thing now with technology, whether that's the MLS, Moxie stuff, you can see when people open your email. So if they're opening an email, you need to be calling them, right? I know Ken opened up the MLS search email again. He's opening up my newsletter every month. I better be calling Ken every week because Ken is motivated and he's doing something. And I'm asking that question, Ken. Hey, Ken, you and your wife still looking to buy? You guys still looking to sell whatever it was? You still looking to buy that, that house up in the mountains? Your hunting lodge that you always wanted? You still looking for that? Okay. Or are you guys still looking to downsize? No, we're not really that motivated to, but maybe next year. Okay, great. But I'm still going to follow up with Ken, but I want to follow up with my A, B leads first and see. And that's why it needs to be in front of you. If you're not somebody who logs into your database every day, then find a different way that they're in front of you. Again, a whiteboard, 3x5 cards, a notebook. It could be a yellow notebook that are with you every single day, but follow up with them live because guess what? Someone else is following up with them, whether directly or indirectly. It could be at church. It could be they bumped into a neighbor and said, yeah, we're thinking of selling soon, or we really want to buy that house, or blah, 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 blah. And they're having a conversation with somebody else. So that's why, like, as you're getting new leads or prospects, we need to follow up with these people on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, depending if they're hot or cold. And that's so important because that follow-up system is one of the most, and Ryan talked about this, it's one of the most important things you do. If you get leads and prospects into your database, into your system, onto your notebook, but you're not following up, they're never going to become what you want, and that's a closing. And Tony just said life can change in 30 days, and that's true, right?
I
People
think that
have new jobs, people get married, people all of a sudden come into money, all of a sudden come out of money. That happens to me a lot. I got two kids in college. It comes in and goes out. But like Tony's point is spot on. Life changes every 30 days. Tony, were you going to add something else to that?
yes. Am I unmuted now? Yes. Like for example, I got a job offer, and I was down here in 3 weeks. I had to change my life, put my house on the market. I had to do all this very, very quickly. And to your point, if you're not talking to them, someone else is. So, all
And
good
think of
stuff.
that. There are people out there, again, we talk about this all the time, that might be getting a divorce, that are thinking of downsizing, are thinking of, I just got a promotion, I just inherited money. I've always wanted a house with a pool, and we're seeing the market come down a little bit. I can afford it. I'm in a condo, and the place is going to get assessed for 50 grand. I want to get out. You just things change, and that's why follow up is so important. So when you get these prospects from an open house, from your sphere of influence, from a friend who just brought up real estate, you need to be calling them and calling them, as Mike Ferry always says, aggressively. Like be in front of them to the point that they're like, Ken's gonna call me at 9 o'clock on Friday. There it is, 9:01. There's the phone call. Hey Ken, hey, you and Jen still looking to buy a house? You know, and it happens all the time. All the time. And if we go up into the panhandle, right, there's a lot of stuff that might be going on military, whether that's PCSing, whether that things like that they're having those discussions. Right? Somebody's retiring. All of a sudden now they've got a different pension. Things look different. So kind of like as we're coming up here on 15 minutes is as Ryan talked about last week too, as you get a prospect and a lead, you need to have a follow-up system, but you need to follow up with them and keep qualifying them. Tony, are you and Julie still looking to sell? Are you guys still thinking of, whatever? I was in Florida yesterday. Lady lives in Texas. Just told me that they're looking to buy a house in Milford, Connecticut. Her husband's from Milford. They love Connecticut, and they would like to be in Connecticut in the summer and not in the middle of Texas in the summer, where it's 100% humidity and 100 degrees. So I was like, hey, we've got offices right there. Oh, well, and people down here know this. Oh, my best friend is Stacy Blake. Oh, okay. Well, we can help you, blah, 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 blah. I'm at a little meeting with other Century, and there's a person talking about buying in Connecticut because her husband wants to enjoy Connecticut where he grew up in his last, as she said, we got like 10 years to really enjoy it before we probably settle down. So as you get anybody in your database, follow up. And I'll tell you what, I know Ken is on this call. Tony's on the call. There's a lot of people. When I talk to Ken and anybody, and I know Sandy's on the call, when you talk to Ken about his real estate business, he works with his core people and he follows up with them. He's constantly talking to them. And I know Ken's going to nod, but 99% of his business is referred to him. It's his people. But he's talking to his group of people all the time. And that's why they're like, got to use Ken. Talk to Ken. Right? That's how it works. And that's why he follows up and talks to his people so they don't forget who he is. And then he also then qualifies. He knows if they have to sell, or again, we would love to talk to them wherever. And he's got his whiteboard right there. He's kind of showing it on this thing. He's right in his office on the wall. It's ideally we'd love to talk to them when they're on their computer right now going homes for sale in Farmington, Connecticut. I'd love for them to pick up the phone. Hey, how'd you know? But we don't. But that's why you need to follow up with them and see where they're at. Questions, comments. Like, we like to keep these quick, brief. We're talking about prospecting, lead follow-up, to keep that. And that's got to be part of your everyday, right? You're prospecting in the day, and then you're following up with people. And don't go a day without following up. And remember, there's an old saying in sales, time kills all deals. So if you're not following up, like Tony just said, someone else is following up with them in some way. And all of a sudden there starts becoming a wedge. And by the way, that follow-up person might not be a real person. It could be Zillow. It could be a website that they're constantly going and there's names popping up and I want more information, and that's going to somebody else, not you. So that's why it's so important that when you have somebody, you're following up, even if you don't know them well. Ask them those qualifying questions. Are you still looking to buy? Are you still looking to sell? What's your time frame? Have you been pre-approved? Can I get you pre-approved? What can I help you with? Where are you on a search? Can I set you up on a different search? Have you thought about this area? And having those conversations. Because that lead follow-up becomes appointments. And when you're face-to-face in front of somebody, now we're moving the needle. If not, they're just a name in a database.
And you can segue in to your conversations. I know you're not ready now, but I want to keep you abreast of the market. So when you are, you have a historical perspective on what something is worth when you're ready. You could see the trends.
Great point, Tony. Right? You're giving them market knowledge.
When did you get that information? So was I. Okay. Yes, that he told me. He didn't tell me about.
I think somebody's on a phone call.
I know, I'm trying.
Can't hear.
All right.
All good stuff.
Well, if there's no other questions, thanks, Tony. Ideally, like we said, we want to be on here for 15, 20 minutes. Any questions is give you an idea to think about, get you motivated to finish the week strong, and keep moving. Remember, the year's only half over. So there's a lot of business to be had, and there's going to be a lot of things changing consistently for the rest of the year. And there's going to be a lot of people buying or selling real estate in the next 5 months. That's for sure.
I want to make a comment on what you just said. So you said the year's half, we got another half a year. I don't agree with that, and I'm going to tell you why. We got to get our deals in now because October comes and we're done. So I look at it, I got three strong months.
No, you're right, Mimi. I was just saying it like.
No, I know.
And they actually say 60% of your year needs to be done by May 31st. Yeah. What you've done at the end of May is 60% of your production for the year. But yeah, you want to get everything done by ideally, end of October, because we get into that holiday season and it definitely changes where people, what it looks like, because November business ends up turning into January and February business.
So I said that as a motivation, not to knock you. I wasn't.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
I motivate myself that way. I go, I got to do it now because October's coming.
You're right. You're 100% right. I mean, that's a great mindset, right? Like, let me get all this stuff in the pipeline, out of the pipeline, onto contracts before Halloween, because that's going to be income this year.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And that's maybe actually it's a perfect way to kind of wrap it up too, because your point is right. Find the hot people, the A people, and get them under contract now. And then those cooler people, or those are the people will push back and follow up differently. Excellent point, Mimi.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a great day. I think it's sunny everywhere in all our offices. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy it. Get out there, sell real estate, talk to people, tell them what's going on in the market. And we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Vijay.
Good
Thanks,
job.
everybody.
Bye-bye.